Hey YouTube, my name's Kayla Rain, and today I'm going to be doing my monthly wrap-up for the month of February and my TBR for March. So guess who's filming this for the second time because I forgot to push the record button the first time. Yeah, this girl. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and jump into my wrap-up. I read 10 books this month, however I can only count 9 towards my end of the year TBR goal because I don't like to count rereads towards my goal. So that's besides the point. Let's just get started and I'll go ahead and tell you what I read this. So the first book that I read, I actually read on my Kindle, and I'm not going to pull that out because then it just makes the lighting go all crazy in here when I turn it on. That was The Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, a handbook for geek girls by Sam Maggs. And I ended up giving that book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was just super fun to read. It talked about being in a fandom, cosplay, different conventions that you can go on. It talked about feminism in the geek world and kind of the objectification of women throughout the geek world, and it was a really fun read. Highly recommend you guys getting your hands on it when it comes out in May. I was really excited to be able to review this book before it came out. It was so fun to read, and I just definitely get it when it comes out. The next book that I read in February was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alirasanis, and I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. There were some things that I had issues with, but if you want to know what those were, I will link the review video in the down bar below, but overall it was a good book. The writing in this was almost lyrical, and I thought that it was just a really beautiful story. Definitely a lot of character development. It was definitely a book that was character driven, and I don't always read books like that because I'm more of a plot type of girl, but this book did it really well and just had this great exploration throughout the different characters. Next, I read The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker, and I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice story about what it is to be human. That's kind of the overall theme that I got from it, because we have these two creatures that are kind of trying to figure out what it is to be human, and then the human characters that we have in it, we have some of them completely objecting human nature and what it is to be human and the things that you have to deal with being a human being. It's just a really great character driven book that still has some really fun plot points in it, and I really enjoyed it. Next, I read Paper Towns by John Green, and I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I did not enjoy it. I found that there were very few redeeming qualities in this book, and I just didn't really enjoy this book, so it's not something I could recommend to people. I know some people really love it, but I particularly don't. And then I read Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, almost as much as I enjoyed Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, but the characters in this are just really punchy, sassy, and I just really liked how it was quite different from Stephanie Perkins' previous characters, but we still have that really magical, innocent love story that we had from Anna here. Just different characters, different setting. It was just really fun. And then I read Hex Hall by Rachel Hawkins. I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really liked this book. I couldn't justify giving it more stars because it's not the most original book ever. It's about this girl who goes to a boarding school because she has magical powers, and it's kind of this generic plot line with some generic character developments and everything. The storyline does have a little twist to it that makes it a little more original, but I mean the real star of this is the dialogue. It's like reading something out of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I really appreciated kind of the sassy dialogue in this and the references that it made, and it was just, the dialogue was really fun to read in this book series. And following up with Hex Hall, I read Demon Glass by Rachel Hawkins. And this was my favorite one out of the trilogy. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I thought that the pacing was really nice. The introduction of new characters was awesome. The inclusion of other characters that we've met before, and just the way she kind of wove them into the plot was really awesome, and I just really enjoyed this book. And to conclude the Hex Hall trilogy, I have Spellbound by Rachel Hawkins again. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really great conclusion to the trilogy, and I just like the way everything kind of tied up. And I love that this trilogy kind of keeps the same punchy dialogue throughout the entire trilogy, but we still get a lot of character development, and it was just a really fun trilogy that I would highly recommend to anyone. And then we have my absolute favorite book of the month, 5 out of 5 stars, easily, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is just this magical, whimsical fantasy novel that I feel like anyone could enjoy. It has these really great characters that are flawed in very different ways, and I love that about this book. We don't have a cast full of heroic people that are just these perfect heroes. We have an entire cast full of very flawed characters, and it just makes them super relatable, very human-like, but in this ridiculously magical, whimsical world. And this is easily the best book I read in February, and will definitely be a contender for the best book I've read the entire year. I can feel it. It was that good, guys. And finally, we have the book that I will not be counting towards my overall year-end goal of 50 books for the year, because it's a reread, and guys, don't judge me. It is 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. I ended up giving this book a 1 out of 5 stars. It was just not something that I really enjoyed, and I didn't enjoy it the first time I read it. Didn't enjoy it the second time I read it. The only reason I'm reading it is because one of my good friends loves this book series, and she wants me to give the entire trilogy a try. She said that the books get better as they go, so I told her that I would definitely give it a try for her because it's one of her favorites. This one wasn't for me. I'm still going to read the second and the third one and kind of see how I feel about it before I pass overall judgment on the series, but I did not enjoy this one. Alright guys, so that has been it for my wrap up, so we'll go ahead and get into my TBR for the month of March, and I only have 3 books that I definitely plan on reading this month. I want to read more than that, but I only have 3 that I've already picked out that I know I'm going to be reading this month. And the first one is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I'm co-hosting a read-along. I'll put all the information in the down bar below, but I'm not going to get super into it. But this also knocks off one of my requirements to reach my year-end goal of reading 24 books off of NPR's Top 100 Sci-Fi Fantasy Novels, which I totally failed in the last month. I didn't read any. Even the ones that I had picked out to read, I didn't read them. So now I am 2 books behind, and this is probably the only one I'm going to read off the list this month because it's a real chunker. The other book that I plan on reading is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I am planning on buddy reading this with Gretchen over on Chic Nerd Reads, and we're probably going to read it towards the end of March, but I definitely want to dive into this like now, but I have to wait because I have to read A Game of Thrones first. And then the last book that I definitely want to read this month, I don't have with me because it's still coming in the mail, but that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I am so pumped to get this book. Mike over on Slice of Mike apparently likened it to Howl's Moving Castle. Sold, need it now in my life because Howl's Moving Castle was everything you need in a book. So I am so super excited about that one, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Alright guys, that is it for my wrap up and my TBR for the month of March. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos as I upload them. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye. That was the Fangirls So yeah, that was weird.